Hello, I'm Heidi, and I would like to welcome you to this masterclass series all about supercharging your aviation marketability, even during difficult times. Now, this series is all about really helping you to be able to show up as your best self and really be able to find that dream job that you're looking for, even during difficult times. And I put this together because I thought, rather than speak from my own areas of expertise, I thought how great it would be to speak to a whole range of experts to really bring in their areas of expertise to really help you to achieve that goal. So one of the questions I'm asked so many times is, Heidi, where do I find a job? So I'm really delighted to be able to tell you that I'm speaking today to Hannah Tillotson. She's the marketing manager at Aviation Job Search. And she's going to tell us that how it's going to actually save you hours and weeks of time trawling through the internet, trying to find jobs. So Hannah, welcome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. This is something that, you know, I've known about Aviation Job Search for years, and it's something that I've even used myself, but I hadn't realized actually until I looked recently that you've got, there's so much on this site, and you know that's why I was so excited to speak to you today. But before we go into that, what I would love to know is just, can you tell us just a bit about you and how you got to be at Aviation Job Search? Kind of what brought you here? What's your sort of background?
Yeah, so I am Hannah Tillotson. I've worked here now for 11 years. So this will be my 12th year we're going into as we speak. Aviation Job Search is owned by a company called Friday Media Group. So Friday Media Group are an online media company that actually started as a newspaper, quite a generic classified website. And over time bought different businesses that specialised in niches. So one of them was Aviation Job Search. We acquired Aviation Job Search well before I started working for the business. I came into Friday Media Group as an admin assistant. So 11 years ago, brought in part-time. I was doing a university degree at the time, nothing to do with aviation. It was actually in sports therapy, because my dream was actually to become a physiotherapist, but I ended up in media. So yeah, I started in admin and I worked my way through. I actually worked my way through into sales and management. So one of the longest jobs that I've had here is as a sales manager and a customer service manager, running Aviation Job Search, but our other brands also. And then when the pandemic hit in 2020, a big hit to the aviation industry in particular, we took focus on Aviation Job Search as one of our brands. It allowed us to step back and actually look at what we do and how we cope with the pandemic, with having an aviation job board. It was pretty difficult. So I had an interest, always have had an interest in marketing and how we market our business, how we help market other businesses. So really, I just landed here, excuse the pun. I landed here in the pandemic, and from there, I've built my way through and done more of a product and marketing role. So I work alongside our product development, which we've done a lot of in the last 18 months while being hit with the pandemic, and then helping market that out as well. So there's no real aviation background to me at all. My passion lies with marketing, but since pandemic I've been really involved in aviation and helping people in the industry get jobs again and get back to where we were pre.
Oh man, absolutely. Yeah, it sounds to me like you've sort of, because you've just about done every aspect of the, you know, working in the business, you can see it from a really holistic view, which I think is so helpful in any role actually, you know, especially with me flying privately, for example, and starting out in commercial and then working my way through. It's given me a much more holistic view as well. So in terms of so you've just mentioned the pandemic there, which has affected all of us on some level. And just to give people a ballpark figure, what sort of, how many sort of jobs are we looking at that were advertised pre-pandemic? Because I'm sure during the pandemic it was very little, you know, people were losing their jobs at the time, but what was it like before, would you say? Roughly.
You were looking anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 jobs advertised pre-pandemic. It dropped significantly when the pandemic hit, and it didn't just drop slowly but surely. It dropped in a big decrease. So we ended up having hardly any jobs advertised on the website, of course, because people were losing the jobs, and people were struggling. But pre-pandemic, it was anywhere, like I say, between 1,000 and 1,500 jobs advertised.
Are you starting to see sort of an upward trend now with things starting to?
Oh yeah, it's been busier than I expected as well, because we're still not quite out of the gloom just yet, but I'm positive due to seeing what's happening now and seeing how many more inquiries we are getting coming through for job advertisements. So we can definitely see that upward trend starting to happen again.
Oh, that's so fantastic. I mean, I'm certainly, it's even in private aviation, I saw exactly the same thing. Jobs just disappeared, vanished. There was just nothing, you know, it just kind of fell out of the sky almost. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, then it just started to improve, and now it's booming. So yeah, it's kind of, there's no in between. It's either
hasn't been, has there? No.
Yeah, it's certainly in aviation. So yeah, absolutely. And what I love about aviation job search, you're not just covering the UK and Europe, but can you tell us about the sort of coverage that you have?
Yeah, so we work worldwide. We have quite a lot of clients within the UK and Europe, but we have candidates across the world. We have people using us in all different countries, looking for work within their own country or looking for work in another country, which is actually quite nice. We get a lot of people wanting to go over to the Middle East from the UK to work over there. So that's what's exciting about working here, is you don't just deal with one kind of customer. You've got a broad range of people that are looking to do various different things within aviation.
That's it. So you sort of UK, Europe, Middle East, and are there any other sort of major areas that you cover as well?
There's predominantly, I'd say that there are bigger areas, but we've got people from all sorts of different places. You've got people from Saudi Arabia, you've got people, like I said, the Middle East is quite a popular area, but you've also got India and Pakistan. They are quite big on candidates looking for work as well. The jobs don't come as much from those areas. You'd probably looking, like I said, between UK, Europe and the Middle East being the main ones, but we do get varied amount of jobs coming from all different kinds of areas of the world. Australia is quite a big area as well that people come from. So yeah.
And so why would you say that recruiters come to you to look for candidates? What is it that you
We offer I say varied range of candidates, because it's not varied, it's very niche in that we only deal with aviation. We don't deal with, even though we've got other websites that work with different industries, we solely concentrate on the aviation industry. So from a marketing perspective, when we outreach our product, we won't ever be seen on buses, we won't ever be seen on billboards at the side of motorways. And the reason behind that is because that we don't want to attract a generic audience. We want to attract the people that are within the industry. So we do a lot of work to get those people through partners. So we work with quite a few partners within the industry that can drive those candidates to know about our brand and be aware about our brand, rather than just advertising generically on bus stops and things like that you'll see. So we very much focus on driving them candidates from the aviation industry, which is our biggest selling point to the recruiters, is they're coming from the industry. They've got
obvious, isn't it?
Yeah. And we want to build that community. One of our biggest aims mainly from pandemic hitting, was to bring that community feel back to the industry. A lot of people lost jobs and a lot of people went off in different directions. People went to work in different industries, but from the heart of the people that I've spoken to that have transferred their skills to different industries have always talked about coming back. So we wanted to create that community feel amongst the industry, because it is quite close knit and there is a good feel about the aviation industry. Once you're in, you're in. Whether you want to be or not is difficult to escape. So we want to build that community feel to our website, and not just be that transaction where people come look for a job and leave. We want to build those people and retain those people for a long time. So I'd say that's what stands us out across when you
you see, I hadn't realized that that's what you incorporated into the site as well, because that is something that is so unique and it's so needed. And I think, during the pandemic, more than ever, we need to have a community, we need more connection. There's been such a lack of it, that kind of disconnect is debilitating for people that are connectors for a living. And when they've lost that, I know it greatly affected me. And I just realized that, we're all wired in the same way in this industry. And I think we're all really lacking that. And it's so wonderful that that's something that you're able to provide as, as part of that, and also to be able to find jobs through it as well. And it's so great. And, it just offers people an opportunity to network as well, which is huge. So that is so great. That is so great. And I mean, that's, that is something that I was going to ask you about, but I was just going to sort of say, how easy is it to apply for roles on the site? Is it a difficult process, or how does it work?
Yeah, so the application process we've improved as part of our rebuild in the last 18 months. Pre-pandemic, our application process, I wouldn't say it was lengthy, but it was quite frustrating for a job seeker to fill out a huge form that asks you everything and anything, that basically takes you a long time to do. So part of the pandemic restructure was that we rehauled our application process, and our goal was to get applicants to be able to apply for a job within under a minute. That was our goal. So we worked with product to reduce the time of trying to get that applicant, because we understand from candidate feedback that the application process is probably the most frustrating part of your career almost. When you're looking for a job, you want to be able to go on and apply for jobs quickly, because you're not just applying for one, you want to apply for a varied amount, because obviously that's what's going to get you a job. So our aim, like I say, was to apply within under a minute. So we looked at what the most important things were to the recruiter when an application comes through, and what they're looking to get out of that person when they apply for a job. Now obviously you upload your CV as you normally would, and then all we ask is we fill out a few boxes, but what we've implemented into our system is what we call a parsing tool. And what that does is it reads your CV when you upload it and pre-populates some of the information for you from your CV to make it easier for you when you come to apply. So
that's clever.
Yeah, so now it's a lot, as long as you've got a CV and you've got that to a certain standard, when you come to apply for a role on aviation job search, you will be able to do it within under a minute. We've timed it many times and it has worked. So yeah, I'd say it's very simple, very straightforward, and it's been done purely off candidate feedback and recruiter feedback to help make it easier for everybody.
That's so great that feedback's been listened to, and I'm sure that's going to be a much smoother process for everybody. And once you're registered on the site, for example, if somebody's applied for a particular role, and do they need to keep checking the site, or will they be notified if something similar comes up? Like, how does that work? Yeah,
so we offer job alerts. So when a candidate registers with us, they can leave the site and technically don't need to come back to the site to look for a job again, because what they'll get is daily email alerts that go through to their inbox, to their criteria. So whatever they've put in that they're looking for, so for example, if I'm looking for cabin crew, the job site will notify you every single day of new cabin crew jobs that have come up based on your criteria that you're looking for. So for example, if you had a salary range in mind, or you had a particular location you wanted to work in, you would set that up as your criteria when you register, and the site would then notify you of those positions that come in daily. And from there, it's a click of a button. Again, you're straight into the application process, logged in as a user, as it's remembered you from the previous login that you've done, and then straight through, click apply. Once you're registered with us, the application process is probably 30 seconds. It's not a minute. So yeah, it's really easy.
Yeah, so that, I mean, certainly pre-pandemic, if you're registered and you've got access to, I can't believe there's over 1,000 jobs advertised. I mean, I didn't even know there were that many companies existed. So, I mean, that's incredible.
I would say that the 1,000 job number is probably based on this companies advertising more than one job. There's not just all companies advertising singular jobs per company. It's probably that number would be based on a company perhaps adding 5 cabin crew jobs here, 10 cabin crew jobs there. So it's based on the job number as opposed to the number of companies that have advertised.
Sure, that's great. And most importantly, is it free to use?
It's absolutely free to use, yeah. The site is completely free. We don't charge candidates for helping find them a job. We want to make sure that the industry's kept going, and yeah, there's no charge whatsoever for any of the services.
It makes so much sense that people actually register with you and that their CVs, you know, and it just makes so much sense. So in terms of the application, you know, from your perspective, what constitutes a good application, maybe from what you've seen or maybe from recruiter feedback? Is that something you've sort of gotten involved in at all? Or?
Yeah, we do get quite a bit of feedback from our recruiters, just purely because we have to speak to them all the time. We do regular customer service calls with our customers to get their feedback as well as the candidate feedback, because both sides are very important. One thing that I would say is vital if you are looking for a job, and it's probably obvious, but it's not obvious in the way you do it. So I would say a good quality CV. So making sure your CV is firstly up to date. The amount of CVs that I've seen that are just out of date is a bit worrying, but making sure it's up to date. And even if it's up to date and you've not worked for a certain period of time because of the pandemic, putting in there things like the skills and the courses or the qualifications that you've perhaps done in your spare time whilst you've not been working, I'd say that's quite a big part of the whole application process, and that's ultimately what's going to get reviewed by the recruiter at the other side. We do have a free CV analysis that anyone can access, which we'll put a link in at the end of this conversation. But basically working on you and your personal brand, I think you yourself, you're in control of your destiny, and you need to make sure that your personal brand is put out there to people. And it's not just through a CV, it's through you as a person, having a social network, having a community within yourself that you've got connections across that can give you recommendations or to give you testimonials. Even when you do come to apply for a job, you're able to go to someone that's either worked with you within the industry or you've connected with within the industry that's able to give you a testimonial to put your personal brand forward and stand you out as a candidate. So I'd say probably the most vital part of the application process is getting that across, whether that's in a CV or whether that's in a personal statement. I'd say the two are probably just as important as one another.
You know, you've just hit on something there that is that I have been asked that question many times, is where people have had that gap during the pandemic, and I've had that myself where I've had to apply for things and I've had to have people back me up as to what I was doing during that time. But that's the thing, I wasn't flying. So I think that's a great point to just add in there that, you know, if you're doing any courses or any education, because a lot of us were doing that. And I think just realizing that it's the great thing is, and what you said even at the beginning, is that people that had left and are now coming back, that, you know, it wasn't a waste. They're actually bringing a huge amount of extra skills and extra learning with them to really kind of, you know, make them better in their job, coming back to flying or whatever it is that they're going into. So I think that's such a valid point, actually. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was something I would have forgotten to ask you, but I think that's really great, actually. And just talking about, you know, the site in general, I know you sort of touched on a few things there. You know, what are the extra resources? Because, you know, you've mentioned the community, but I understand there's also a forum that I wasn't aware about as well. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so we've very recently just launched what we call our Aviation Career Hub. So aside from aviation job search, we now have our hub, which encompasses articles and content, educating people on how to job search for a job in the best and most effective way. We have a lot of top tips for CV writing, your interview guides, and plenty of different articles that are aimed to educate people and help them when you are setting out on your job search. We've collaborated with aviation professionals, cabin crew and pilots, and that was basically to give those people out there an insight into what the day in the life of a pilot looks like, a day in the life of a cabin crew looks like, the lifestyle of those people, to really help you understand that career and make you visible to the highs and the lows in the career. Because I think just like a CV, a job description doesn't necessarily go into the ins and outs of a job, whereas talking to a professional that's actually doing the job and seeing them in real life really give you that insight into what you're going to do. So there's plenty of articles and interviews on there that are aimed to help people understand the industry a little bit better and understand those job roles. Also part of that hub is our forum. So that is again aimed to get the community feel and allow people to connect with one another, ask each other questions, the qualified to connect with the non-qualified and help them bring them through. Our whole goal with that was almost getting mentorships through the forum. So people that are on courses that are just coming into the aviation industry, being able and having the opportunity to connect with people that have been in the industry for years and years and years and really help them come through. But more so now when we've got the pandemic and there's so many people struggling out there to even find a job or have the confidence to even look for a job, I think that forum has really shown the togetherness that people are willing to offer. So it's there for everybody to use within the aviation industry to ask whatever questions that they feel are right for them and get people's advice and allow people to help one another, because there's so much knowledge out there. There's such a big industry and such a nice industry to work in. People want to share, and it's just allowing everybody to come together and have that. And that's why we did it. We wanted a platform where you don't have to go to one place to go to another to find what you need. It's all there, and you're able to connect with those professionals in that one place, find the advice that you need in that one place, but also apply for jobs within that place as well. So that also encompasses within the hub. And then further to that, we have partners that we've
So would you be able to find all of this by going into aviation job search, and then you can sort of access it, or is it a separate site? Or
it's a separate site, but it sits amongst our aviation job search brand. So within the aviation job search platform, in the top left hand corner, there's a link to Career Hub. So it takes you straight into the hub. Your registration that you have with aviation job search is also connected with the hub, so you don't have to have two separate login details. They're both the same, to make it easy for the use of both platforms. But we've kept them on separate screens, if you will, just to keep it easy for the user to find what you're looking for at that particular time. But your login details work for both. So yeah,
that's so great. And I think it's just to be able to ask people questions as well. And like you were saying, there's so much knowledge out there. And I think, certainly from my perspective, when I'm doing my training and coaching, a lot of it comes down to confidence. Yeah. And a big part of confidence is, I've noticed that when people can see that it is possible for others, they can see that it's worked for others or what has worked for them, and it makes them realize it is possible. So even having that is so valuable, because people can see that other people that, are being successful even during difficult times, and how they're doing it, and then being able to really copy and follow in their footsteps, I think is so cool,
What's really nice to see on the forum as well is when people ask about the training courses. So there's a lot of people that come on and ask one another, is anyone attending the BA City Flyer training course? And then it allows you to connect with those people pre that course to get you to know people before you go on that course, which again, builds your confidence about going there. You already feel familiar with the people that are going to be there, because it allows you that opportunity pre-course to get to know those people. So there's ultimate benefits to it, as speaking on that forum, if people want to get things off the chest, or if people just want a bit of advice, or even just to be a passive reader of different content. You don't have to engage in the content, you don't have to get involved in a discussion. You can just read through, and hopefully it'll add value to what you're doing in the aviation industry.
Yeah, that's it. I think any knowledge that we can gain, and people that are in the roles that we want to be doing, or we want to learn more about it, it's like the perfect opportunity to do that. So yeah, I mean this is so amazing to learn so much about what it is that I had just thought that's where the jobs are, but I hadn't realized there's so much else. So yeah, I'm so delighted to sort of learn about this. And of course, I know that you've got a free gift for anybody that's tuning in today as well. Can you tell us about as well.
Yeah, so we've recently partnered with a CV writing company, and part of our offering now is a CV review. So what that is you send over your CV to human beings. It's not robotic. They will do a free review of your CV and offer you tips and advice on where you can improve, how you can reword things, really to make your CV stand out. One of the key benefits to this platform is that when you submit your CV to a recruiter, generally it goes through an ATS, an applicant tracking system, and that applicant tracking system has been set up specifically to look for certain keywords within CVs. If your CV doesn't match those keywords, your CV is automatically rejected from that ATS. So a human being at this point has not viewed your CV. Therefore, what the CV review allows you to do is they will look at your CV and work out the keywords that you should be including to bypass that ATS and help you get in front of those recruiters. So the more keywords you've got in your CV that match their criteria, the more chance you've got of getting in front of someone and their eyes to help review you. So that's our little gift to the audience, is a free CV review, and basically we can add the link in to
that's great. That's great. I think that's so helpful. And just to, I hadn't even realized that a lot of jobs went through that system. It's not seen by a human being. So I think, that just having that extra sort of help on that side is so valuable, and it's free. So that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's great. And so Hannah, you've obviously given us so many tips and pointers today. Is there any one thing that you would like to leave everybody with that you think is just the most important thing, even if they just took one action step? What would that be that you would recommend?
I would recommend your personal brand, you as a person. It's so important now for job seekers to add your personality to your application. You add, especially for cabin crew, and making use of the resources that are available and connect with other professionals out there in the industry. We want to obviously get back together again and want to help people within the aviation industry, but the one thing I would definitely say for people to work on is don't just rely on your CV, rely on you as a person. Go out there and connect, get out there on LinkedIn and put yourself in front of people that you've never put yourself in front of people before, and really push you as an individual.
I think, again, just all of that is holistically, collectively, it's just what's going to really help people to get out there and get those jobs that, as I say, I'm so delighted to have been able to speak to you today, because this is the question that I'm asked most. Where do I find a job? And just having all of this and more, it's just so helpful. So
hopefully that's really helped.
Yes, no, I'm sure that it's going to be really helpful for so many people. So thank you so much, Hannah. I really appreciate your time. I hope you've really enjoyed today, and please do tune in for the rest of the masterclass series that will also really help you to get those jobs that you're really looking for. Thanks so much, Hannah.
Thank you.